we're gonna sync audio. Okay. Hopefully you don't hear people's voices downstairs. Gotta adjust the mic. And we're gonna do this real quick. Can we just say none? No, we're gonna have to see all models. That's fine. You know what? We'll just do another 11. Do the 11 Pro Series. That's fine. We'll do the 11. Okay. What up? How you guys doing? My name is Nestor and welcome back to another episode of Next Trade Tech. What we're going to talk about today is basically, should you really buy an iPhone 12 or not, or just stick with the iPhone 11 nowadays, since everyone's talking about new 5G aspects of the world? The better question is, should you switch to 5G phone yet, or should you stick with the phone you're using now? We're going to talk about differences in the 12 and the 11, and also discuss what makes it better, or if there's even any differences to begin with. We're gonna just basically find this out together. Hopefully tear down the mumbo jumbo a little in the stuff they talk about on the website, and at the end of the day, see if you even buy the phone to begin with. So without further ado, let's get started. So for starters, I just kind of pull up the Apple website. We have the iPhone 12, 11, and 12 Pro. I'll put the 12 Pro in here just so you can get like a better example on how things are probably different, or how even maybe you want the 12 Pro to begin with. So this might help a little more out if you want a 12 Pro. So for starters, price points, obviously huge different price points. You're starting at $600 for the 11 and $800 for the 12, and then you should spend an extra $200, you can get a 12 Pro, which is actually, that's still the same price point as last year. On the 12 though, on the other hand, it did increase an extra $100 this year compared to the 11 last year. But the 11 did drop down $100, so that it does save you a little bit of money in the end run. The other biggest thing on these phones, that the 11, it is only 4G compatible, or 4G LTE. So if you have like an AT&T device that says 5GE on the top right corner, that is not 5G. Please stop saying that it's 5G. It is not a 5G device. Apple never made the chipset to make it a 5G device, so it is not at all a 5G device. We hear it a lot every day in our world, and I'm getting a little, tired of hearing 5G on a 4G device. Just because it is not 5G, there is no way you can update a chipset on a device and make it 5G now. But on the 12 and the 12 Pro, they are 5G devices, so if you did want to start integrating towards 5G devices later in the year or later in the future, it's something to take advantage of. I know T-Mobile has the highest 5G rated network around the country. I'll start putting some charts here, maybe a little here and there, and we'll make a video more in depth about 5G. But I know T-Mobile has the biggest 5G available, and then AT&T and Verizon probably have the least amount of 5G to begin with, just because T-Mobile is acquiring a lot more towers, more and more every day. So with those towers being acquired, means more 5G access for everyone. More 5G access means better service at the end of the day. But the biggest difference, back to the phone talk, they're all 6.1 displays. So if you're thinking about, if you want to upgrade to a newer phone that's a little bigger display, if you had like an iPhone 8 before, or even an iPhone X or XS, it is a little bit of a bigger display. So you're getting that benefit in it. The difference between the 12 and the 11, they still got the same ultra wide and wide cameras. The only difference is you are getting that Dolby HDR video recording up to 30 FPS, which if you're not really into intense video recording or intense, audio like we're doing right now here as I record this video, it might not be necessary. Most people are not taking heavy photos or editing heavy photos in Dolby Atmos or Dolby Vision to begin with. So, the video quality and photo quality is still going to be the same regardless or not in the aspects. Unless you're starting to go into the 12 Pro series, which in the 12 Pro, it does have a 4x optical zoom range, which means it just zooms in closer in optically. It's really not too much step to it. It does have also 60 FPS in recording, so 60 frames for FPS, 60 frames per second. So basically, FPS is a standard for photos per second or frames per second. So it's literally taking 60 photos per second in terms FPS. As we go down a little further, in terms of battery life, they're all the same battery life, at least according to Apple's website. So, if you're not really if you're thinking you're gonna get more battery life as you upgrade to these devices, realistically, I don't think you are, just because they're not really specifying about battery life, and also it's still saying 17 hours of playback. So if it was a little bit more battery life, Apple would have increased these specs up on their website. So with that being said, I mean, if you're not looking for anything too fancy and you still want to get something a little bit higher in terms of, like, let's say you have an iPhone 8 or even an iPhone 7, if you're thinking about going to 5G, yes, 100% go into the iPhone 12 realm. But if you don't really, or you're in a network that doesn't really have 5G established yet, iPhone 11 or the 11 Pro is going to be better for you at the end of the day. Biggest thing about the new 12 and 11, it is the ceramic shield front. Basically, what the ceramic shield front is an extra coating on the top layer of the phone. It's supposed to provide extra drop resistance or damage resistance, I guess, at the end of the day, and prevent it from the glass cracking in the front. So if you're a person who drops their phone a lot, maybe the iPhone 12 might be a little bit better of a bet for you. But if you have a general glass screen protector and a case, hopefully you have Apple Care. I mean, there's really not that much special to it. I mean, at the end of the day, all these extra gimmickies, ceramic shield front, it is cool and all. But if you're not really taking advantage of it and you're already protecting your phone the way you should be protecting your phone, there isn't going to be much of a difference between you dropping your phone from your car or from like a table with that extra ceramic shield front. Just keep a glass screen protector on it. And at the end of the day, you should be protecting your phone and even having insurance on your devices. So please keep your devices protected. These devices aren't cheap. And if you're planning on trading your phone, kind of think about don't trading your phone. I know that's a little weird to say because just in case something happens, you always want to have a backup. Because keep in mind, most insurance companies, they're not going to switch your phone the same day. You're going to have to wait a day for your phone to get switched out or sent to you to begin with, especially with Apple. Apple might switch it the same day with a screen replacement, but you also got to keep in mind that that's a day out of your time. Maybe you don't have the time to do that. And a day without your phone is pretty difficult. All you have to do is just put a SIM card in and that's it. You're up and running again. And at least for now with Apple's water resistant, if you're planning on swimming a lot, at least, I don't go into the water a lot, so this might not be helpful for me. I'll probably stick with the 11 right now. Or I personally have the iPhone 8 Plus. I'm not really thinking about switching right now. It is still a good phone. It's not really slowing down on me. But if you're thinking about swimming or anything like that water related, they are 6 meters for water resistance for up to 30 minutes in fresh water. That's the key thing, fresh water. They are not saltwater resistant. I know salt does impact the devices a lot. But if you're not swimming a lot or even doing a lot with your phone, maybe the 11 would be a better bet for you. Save a couple bucks. And then transition to maybe a 12 in a couple years when 5G does kind of start coming out and being a little better. These devices are MagSafe. So, I mean, MagSafe, I'm going to be honest with you, MagSafe is kind of just a gimmick. I guess Apple is trying to make it where you can have more accessories on the go and kind of swap in and out. But, I mean, I don't really switch my cases a lot or enough for me to do that. So, at least for me, it's not really a necessity, to be honest with you. It is a cool feature, don't get me wrong. If you're about it, that is great. Not to deter you away from getting these devices, or even the case of screen protector. It's just not comparable, or at least not to what I expected to be. Yeah, so, I mean, if you're thinking about getting it, I'm going to be honest, it's probably the 11 will be a better bet for you at the end of the day between the 11 and 11, or the 11 and the 12. Kind of keep that in mind. Also keep in mind as well, you are paying more just to get a 12 with those little extra features for $800 versus you getting an 11 that's going to have kind of the same features for $600. So, I mean, it's a $200 difference to you to get a 64 gig or a 128 gig. The only time I would see you benefiting from getting this is probably just to go straight to the 12 Pro series and just get a 128 gig. That way you're not really worried about memory that much. You also got to keep in mind these displays are changing a little bit once you get to the 12 and the 11. It does have Apple's Super Retina display on the 12 and the 12 Pro series. If you have an X or 11, or I'm sorry, not 11, 11 Pro from last year, it's going to be the same display essentially, just transfer over to these new devices. If you're not really if you're watching a lot of content, I mean, the glass looks fine on all of them. There's nothing really too fancy on them that's different, at least from what I've been seeing. I do have a couple of displays on the side-by-side. You can kind of see the glass difference between them. I mean, it looks like a huge difference just because of the lighting in that room. So yeah, in terms of the display, I mean, you're getting a good display on both ends between the 12 and the 11. In terms of contrast ratio, I mean, this is all just I mean, I personally don't know what that means. I mean, I can put it down in the comments if you guys are really interested in it. Um, that's not really much of a concern. But the kind of key thing is, if you want to get a smaller device, the difference between the 11 and the 12, they're off by a little bit. As you can see in the videos up here, there's a little bit of a difference in terms of size. Yes, it is a little smaller of a housing for you to see both of them. But at the end of the day, a phone's gonna be a phone, whether we like to use it or not. So, you know, kind of keep that in mind when you're getting these devices. And then now we're getting to the part where people kind of care most about is kind of the camera that's set up on these. So between the 12 and the 11, the cameras, I mean, they do come with the same cameras. Ultra wide on both of them, they do have the same aperture rating, and the wide on both, the aperture rating, it is off by 0.2. Are you gonna know there's a big difference? I'm not sure, to be honest with you guys, because Apple's gonna make the product look really good, whether you're in low lighting or in great lighting. Both have 2x digital and 5x digital zoom and 2x optical zoom. Same thing for better true flash for slow sync. I mean, all these are basically the same thing. The only thing that's different between these two is Smart HDR3 for photos. If you're a heavy photo taker and do a lot of Photoshop, that may be better for you. I just take photos on a normal occasion, so the 11 might be best for me at the end of the day. Both record in 4K. They both do the same thing. The only thing that's different here on these two is the HDR recording with Dolby Vision. Everything else is pretty much the same. Night mode time lapse. If you do a lot of time lapses at night, that's great. I mean, that's really only gonna be for people who go on vacation or even do content creation. So I really not gonna see a benefit for people getting the 12 versus the 11. You might as well just save your money at the end of the day. We go to front camera specs, all the same, just now HDR, night mode, and deep fusion. Carriers, every carrier is gonna have them. I mean, Apple, I'm pretty sure, just kind of set their expectation for everyone to have it. And in terms of cellular and wireless, they all pretty much have the same thing. In terms of connectivity, the only thing that's gonna honestly be different is now the 5G. Sub-6 and millimeter wave, and the difference between sub-6 and millimeter wave is the strongest and most powerful version of 5G. Companies are slowly trying to integrate. I know Verizon's trying to do it slowly from millimeter wave and then down to low band, whereas T-Mobile is doing from low band up. So T-Mobile is on sub-6 right now. There are some places with millimeter wave, but at the end of the day, you're not going to really benefit on Verizon or AT&T because they don't even have sub-6 yet. Some places they do, but statistically, it's not really there. So if you're not in those carriers that can, have 5G access ready for you, the better bet for you would be the iPhone 11. Authentication, Apple Pay, Apple Cards, all the same. Video calling, I mean, so HD with 5G, okay, nothing much different. All the same, all the same. Guess what? All the same. Siri, battery life, all the same. Just the MagSafe is added equipped with the battery life. And yeah, the only thing different between, since you're getting the same dual SIM card, the only thing that will benefit you into upgrading these devices, if you have small businesses too as well, they do support dual SIM. One is the electronic SIM card, which is basically your company putting in that electronic SIM iPhones have. It's called the EID number. If your carrier doesn't know that, that means they don't know what they're doing. And also nano SIM, which is a physical SIM, which you can pull in and out and use at any phone. Basically what I'm trying to grasp is, at the end of the day, in terms of recommending a product, it is very substantial on what you're trying to do at the end of the day. If you're trying to get 5G and you're trying to get the newest, latest, and greatest, that is great. Go ahead and go for it. But if you're trying to save a couple bucks, it is not worth it to get to 12. You're better off getting an iPhone 11 or maybe a version before that. Kind of keep in mind, always ask your friends around, maybe they will know a little more. I personally don't see a benefit of getting the 12 right now, at least in this case, unless your phone breaks or you have an older device and you're trying to move on to the next phone and just get a new phone. So yeah, unless your friend recommends it, or you're trying to get a new phone, or even get into the first glimpse of 5G and their connectivity, maybe the better bet will probably be iPhone 11, just because, if you're not really using it for what the phone's intended for, there's no point in you spending $1,000 on a phone or even $1,200 on a phone if you're not using the phone to its full capacity. It's just a waste of money for you, and you're just getting more money to the company. So, I mean, that being said, would I recommend the iPhone 12 as of right now, what it stands? No, I would prefer you to go to iPhone 11, which is cheaper and more cost effective. Also, keep in mind these phones are more difficult to replace hardware on a third party resource. So, if your camera breaks and they got to switch the lens housing, they can't fix it. Apple made it where it is digitally locked, so they try to switch that hardware. It will not work with new hardware, so you're gonna have to get the phone replaced indefinitely. With the 11s, you can still switch hardware. It's a little bit more difficult to do still, but it is still doable. So kind of make those justifications on you, what you think it's gonna be best for your needs at a day-to-day situation. Because most people, I'll be honest with you, you're better off with the iPhone 11. If you're going for a 12, that is great. Don't get me wrong, it is the newest phone. Everyone wants the new phone, but do you really need it? That's the real question. So kind of keep that in mind at the end of the day. So final recommendation: stick with the 11. Don't go for a 12, at least not right now, unless you really want to hit 5G. I mean, that's all I really got to say. My name is Nestor. Thank you guys for tuning in. Consider subscribing. We'll probably talk a little bit more about this. Maybe I'll talk about 5G and how 5G is working for everyone a little in the video later ahead of time. Hopefully by sometimes next week or end of this week. We'll see. I'm kind of new to this. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. What should I talk about next? And if you're having a bad day, tomorrow's always a better one. Catch you guys in the next one.